Hi students, today we are going to study a new story, The Blue Bead, written by Nora Borke. Moving to the plot summary of the story, we can see the protagonist of the story, Sibia, a young girl of 12, lived in a mud house in a village. She was poor and brave girl. She went with her mother and other women to get paper grass from cliff. Passed by a Gujar encampment where nomadic grazers lived. After cutting the grass, the women crossed the river to return to their homes. A Gujar woman came to the river to get clear water. She was attacked by a crocodile. The crocodile pulled her leg. Blood spread everywhere. Sibia watched and then sprang up. Sibia aimed at the crocodile's eyes. She drove her hair fork at the eyes of the crocodile and one prong went in. The crocodile reared up in convulsion. Then he crashed back and disappeared. Sibia dragged the fainting woman out of water and saved her life from the crocodile. At the end of the story, when her mother asked her what happened to her, she responds by telling her about the blue bead she has found and not about her bravery. She is not proud of her activity but is excited to get the blue bead. So, the title, The Blue Bead, is effective and meaningful. Before moving to the summary of the story, I would like to remind you children, read the story from the textbook. It all begins with the Sibia's earnings for the sparkling beads, beautifully designed Kashmiri clothes and shiny metal trays available in the local village market. The little poor girl had no access to such fancy items as her family always struggled to earn their basic bread and butter. Many of the women from the village collected the glass beads from the jungles and strung them together to make different pieces of jewelry. They would also use their needles to sew them onto their clothes and scarves to make it more attractive. However, Sibia couldn't even sew or stitch her own glass beads because the only needle her family owned was broken. So, she had to wait patiently till they could spare some money to buy a new one. Sibia and her mother would work with the other village women. On one such day, when they were away collecting paper grass from the jungle to sell in the bazaar, Sibia noticed that all of them were wearing bright colorful neck pieces made from the shiny beads, and this made her sad as she realized that she didn't have even one of those jewelries. The little fanciful girl kept dreaming about these things, and she silently made a pledge to herself that one day she would own these brilliant sparkling jewels to wear around her trim brown body. After collecting the required materials from the banks of the stream, the women trudged back along the path in the wilderness. This is when they came across the river where the crocodiles rested. Every time they crossed this river or came near to it, collect the paper grass, the women would scream and shout to make enough noises to scare away the crocodiles, and this trick would generally work. Only Sibia doesn't follow the women back like she usually did and stayed behind to check whether her clay cups had dried or not. She had laid out a few cups and saucers shaped out of clay to dry before she could use them, inside a small cave where they could be safe from wind and water. To peek inside the cave, she meanders around the stream, skipping over stones in the water, and then she notices a woman from the village who has came to collect water in her clay pot. As the lady bends over to store the flowing water, she gets attacked by a sly crocodile that was lurking around waiting for a prey. The animal plunks its rough, sharp teeth into the woman's skin to get a hold of her leg and tried to drag her down into the water. She fails around and attempts to save herself from the drowning by holding on to a rock, but the wild beast was too strong and savage. Sibia had a hay fork which she was clutched in her right fist, and she threw this weapon at the crocodile. The sharp edge of the hay fork hit the crocodile smack in the eye, and due to the pain, it had to let the woman go. As the crocodile slunk away into the depths of the water, Sibia rushed to help the injured woman. She pulled her out of the water to lay her down on the banks. The young girl was well used to such dire situations, and she knew exactly how to abate the bleeding. Sibia covered the wounded area with the sand and then bandaged it with a thin rag. The woman belonged to the Gujar community, so she helped her walk towards their camp in the jungle which was located nearby. When the men saw Sibia bringing along an injured lady, they rushed out to help her and thanked her for saving the woman's life. The people residing in the camp then carried the injured person to the nearest hospital for treatment. After this incident, the brave little girl dauntingly goes back to the edge of the river to collect her sickle and hay fork and also the freshly picked pepper grass. As she stooped down to gather her things, she saw that her fork was lying next to a rock. Sibia went towards it, picked it up, and as she did so, her eyes fell on the gleaming blue bead. She rushed to fish it out of the water, and when she held it in her hand, her heart was full of glee. Her happiness doubled when she found that the bead was already pierced and could be tied to a string. There was no needle even for a needle, and the little joyful girl ran back towards her home with a great excitement. Her mother found her on her way back, and she gave her a good scolding for lagging behind in the river and for not coming back with them. The loving mother was actually worried about her daughter and was looking for her everywhere. She asked Sibia if she got into any trouble or in any harm had befallen her. The courageous and carefree girl put all her mother's concerns to rest by narrating the actual events that had happened, and the author completes her on that note. Let us revise the value points of the story. Reminding you to read the story from the textbook. Thank you.